This is the stuff dreams are made of. I'm writer-collector Ryan Condal.
And I'm writer-collector Dave Mandel. Hey, Ryan, how are you?
Hi, Dave. We have a new king, and we have a big show today. So, big exciting times here in England.
We have a new king here in America as well. No, we don't.
Who is it? I mean, it was Elvis, and then it was Michael Jackson, and who now? Is it Taylor Swift? I feel like it's her, right?
Aaron Judge, Yankee right fielder Aaron Judge.
Yeah,
yes,
that's very good. That's very good. He does have royal family money now, so yeah,
he's our new king. You good?
Yes, I am. We've had very good weather here recently as far as England goes, so I feel like the sun is staying up later. Like recording this podcast very late, I still see vestiges of blue outside of my window. So it's it's good times. And auction season, we have auctions coming.
We're right on the cusp of that. And we have a crazy big show. Actually, this is going to be a fun one for us. But we'll start with what's new in props, just because there are a couple of things that are new. Ryan, you want to go first? You got something?
Yeah, I this all kind of went down a few months ago, but I finally got it all together. I will post photos on the feed. So I'm a giant fantasy literature fan, as people who listen to the show or know me might know. And one of the fantasy characters I've always loved is Elric, Michael Moorcock's Elric of Melnibona, I think is how you say that.
Is that how you pronounce it? I always did it just straight up like Australia. Like I just made him Elric of Melbourne. Of Melbourne, Australia. And I know it's wrong, but I don't care. But yeah.
No, I think it's Melnibone. And because there's a little accent on the thing. And I did look it up at some point because I was like, I needed to know. But he was so anybody that Moorcock published most of these stories in the kind of 70s period, and they were heavily influenced by Tolkien, and then they heavily influenced what was to come. And George R.R. Martin has always spoken very highly of Moorcock's writing, and has always said that he really loved the Elric saga. And although he never specifically said it, when you read the books, you can kind of see, because Elric is he's a albino.
I was going to say there's Valerian aspects, sort of, right?
Yes,
kind of,
with silver, skin like a bleached skull, and red eyes and silver hair, and he lives on an island that has dragons on it. And it's just there's vestiges in there of the Valyrian culture, and Melnibone is this kind of the empire has kind of fallen into decadence and decay, so it's still around, but it's not what it once was. So it's not like Valyria that's fallen into the sea and it's gone, but there aren't many of these people left around, and he sits on a ruby throne, and his cousin is trying to steal his throne from him. There's a magic sword involved. It's just they're the really cool, dark, very dark, gothic sword and sorcery tales, and I've always really loved it. And there's not much out there from it because it was adapted into a couple of comic books that weren't.
I was going to say there's a lot of the comic book stuff, and then he's also popped up, or versions of him have popped up. I feel like he's in like an old issue. Doesn't he pop up in an old issue of Conan, like in one of the original
runs? He crosses over with Conan,
Smith?
Which is a lot of people actually know him, because they think he's a Conan character and he's not. And I guess Marvel had the license on both, so they were able to blend them. But Moorcock was definitely influenced by Howard, and of course, because everybody was influenced by Howard, the author of Conan. So anyway, I've always loved the character. I picked up the books 6 months ago and just started rereading, just as I was desperate to read something else in the all respect to the world of Westeros, but to read something else in the world of fantasy that I could just read for enjoyment. And I hadn't read them in probably 20 years. And I just really fell back in, and I was really loving it. And of course, what do? Normal person reads the book, puts it down. I go out there hunting, like, what kind of art can I buy?
Right.
So I ended up tracking down this really cool piece that I actually sent to Dave when I was looking at it, from this artist at Rodney Matthews. And Rodney is one of the, I think, the better known Elric artist, or one of the guys that's associated with Elric. And he has this very kind of, I don't know, Dave, how would you describe it? It's very kind of like comic booky style to him.
Yeah, it's funny. There's almost like a
fantasy art.
For fantasy, there's like I guess I almost call it, it's like fantasy meets cartoon a little bit. Like, and I don't mean that in a bad way. Yes. I don't want cartoon to sound like pejorative. I mean it in a great way. Like almost, I don't know, like some of his stuff sometimes looks like it's almost like almost like demonstration pieces or something for like test pieces for like some animated film never made, like a very glorious, I don't know. I don't know. There's something interesting about the stuff. Anyway, terrible description.
It's larger than life. It's big and high fantasy and all that. I'm looking at it. It's off here right now. And he had some great stuff that he had done for this recent. He worked as far back as the 70s, but he's still creating stuff. And his 70s work is very, very expensive, and I would say sort of out of range for where I wanted to be. But he did a more recent portfolio of stuff for Calendar, and then a recent kind of fancy sort of limited publishing recollection of the Elric stories.
One of those like numbered or lettered books or something. Yeah,
correct. Yeah, it's one of those, and just did some wonderful stuff. And then there's this great image of him, and he's fighting one of the bad guys from Stormbringer, and I was just delighted by it. So I made an offer, and he took it, and he's out here in the UK, and we got into correspondence. It was cool to chat with him. He's into the show and all that, and we just had a nice conversation, and he sent it to me, and it's gorgeous. I mean, it's done in inks. It's done in like colored inks on a board. And
that's interesting.
I took it to the framer, and he was just like, I can't believe this isn't a print or something. It's just so kind of perfect. And like, it's not loose. It's very, very tight. Everything is very like done, done to the finest detail, and it's delightful. So I put it in a frame and hung it up. And while I was Googling around, I found, because it's me, guys, I found a sword maker who is here in England, who makes these really high-end art pieces. Like it's a proper forge, and they make swords and things, but he does these really interesting forge pieces. And he happened to have a 1 of 13 edition of Stormbringer, but it was not just any Stormbringer.
His own. Okay.
He made the Rodney Matthews version of Stormbringer, because when Rodney would draw Stormbringer, he always drew it the same way. So it's like the illustrated version of that, but done it's an actual steel, carbon spring steel forged sword, and it's like 5.5 feet tall. It's gigantic, and so Stormbringer is the Stealer of Souls. It's a living ancient vampire sword from these like lost times, and Elric is kind of dying, and the only way he stays alive is by killing people with the sword, because it steals their life force and puts it into him. And now it's sitting next to me in my office, because why not? And I love it.
I believe that is why this week Kaylin is the wife of the week here on the Stuff Dreams Are Made Of. This week she takes over from Becky Mandel and is the wife of the week here on Stuff Dreams Are Made Of.
She doesn't even blink anymore. She saw me bring it into the house. She came up in my office. She looked at it and just turned to me and asked whatever question she had about the laundry machine or whatever. Like, it processed and just sort of did the, I've accepted so much in this marriage, and this is just another one that I'm putting
one of the many
on her eventual podcast. Get rid of it all.
Well, congratulations, Kaylin. Yeah, you are a wife of the week. Yes.
Yeah, and now she has a vampire sword. She can steal souls of her own.
Yeah, I'm sure she's telling a lot of.
So that's what my what's new in props, Dave. What do you got?
Well done. I have nothing. No giant swords. Nothing that pissed anyone off in my house here. I actually was more interested, and it was sort of announced, and then the catalog kind of came pouring out very quickly, which is Heritage is having the big Comisar collection. James Comisar, longtime TV collector, is, I guess, selling everything off. There's been other auctions before, but this looked like it was everything that was left from what I could tell. Certainly has some of the, bigger, more famous pieces that he has, like pieces of like the Tonight Show set and the Letterman set, and the MASH sign that he has, and things of that nature. And it's a huge catalog. And, I think, we may not be able to get to the catalog because of the timing, which is to say, I don't know if we have an episode, but I did a quick just go through myself, and everyone's just got to check it out. There's no other way of saying it. Look, I'm not going to lie. There are some, what I would call, very healthy reserves that I, there's a lot of ways of doing an auction. One is, lower reserves to get bidding. These are healthy reserves. I do wonder if some of that's going to stop some bidding. I can't speak to that. There are definitely pieces I'm interested in, but I am looking at the opening bid numbers and just kind of going, I don't know. That being said, there's a Kirk in there. There are Batman and Robin costumes from the 60s show. A couple other Batman.
Do you not have a Kirk? Do you not have?
I have a Kirk, but I did think it was. But I did think it was great. I do have a Kirk, but I'm just talking for the world. Yeah, for myself.
The thing that I loved.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Well, the thing that I loved in there, and it's very much not my era, which I'm grateful for because I don't need another auction that I need something in.
Right.
But the thing that I loved in there was the Bat phone because I just think it would be awesome to actually have. Like say I have the Bat phone. I mean, it's such a it's a culture. It's a cultural cliche. It's at this point.
But it would also
like I got a call on the Bat phone.
Equally interesting to have the Bat shield, even though it doesn't necessarily come in quite as handy. It's also the Bat shield.
That's right.
Yeah, I thought
that
Batman
can protect you
great.
From an angry wife after you've bought.
Yes, exactly. Honey, I bought the Bat phone. I'm putting up my Bat shields to stop you from throwing things at me. Oh no, she's got the sword, the giant 5-foot sword. It's going to kill the Bat shield.
She has the Stealer of Souls. I've been hoisted on my own petard.
There's a Ralph Cramden jacket in there from the Honeymooners. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I'm dying to sort of check out. It's interesting, with the TV stuff, and obviously you sort of, I think everybody has the shows they like. So obviously, you can look at stuff. Not oddly enough, but I think I've spoken on our show about, I love the old show Moonlighting, and he's got costumes and also costume drawings and reference from the Atomic Shakespeare episode, which I guess many people consider the sort of Moonlighting high point. It was the one where they kind of do Taming of the Shrew, and they do it as like a period piece musical sort of thing. And boy, I don't know where the hell I would put those. And it seems stupid. And yet the opportunity to have, original Moonlighting stuff, I don't know, just very, very cool. So that's something. I will say, this is definitely one of those collections where the pieces, because there's a lot of things I don't care about. There's game show stuff. There's other talk show stuff. I mean, there's things that I don't necessarily care about, but individually I don't care about them. But I will say, unfortunately, it will be a shame when this collection is dispersed to the world that the stuff together, like when the game show collection, I feel like was part of his overall television collection. It was an incredible collection of the history of television, if that makes any sense. But the game show pieces unto themselves, I don't care about, but I would have loved to have looked at them in a museum, I guess. And I guess
in the and like if the collection is a museum, essentially, it's a shame that there isn't like a TV Academy museum, the way the Film Academy is just open, because if they just acquire this, it would be the entire like 1960s through 1980. I mean, really going back to the 50s, right?
You'd fill in a lot of holes that probably will be impossible to ever put together again. And I think he tried to do a museum himself a couple times and it never happened. And I'm guessing there's more to the story, and we should probably get him on maybe after all said and done. We'll try and get him on as a guest, because I'm sorry about the timing, but we did want to talk about the other thing I wanted to throw out there, which oddly enough, I think we talked a little bit about this, but so I did, as I told you, I did the Mark Maron podcast for White House Plumbers. And on that, I told this story about how
you talked about the Comisar auction, but not about our podcast.
Yes, I talked a lot about Comisar, and I talked about a lot of other people's podcasts, but not ours so much. Yeah. But I did talk about how I was obsessed with David Letterman as a kid, and I had this dream of, they used to have these late night with David Letterman. So the original show, they had these like varsity jackets, like these yellow and blue varsity jackets.
Yeah, I remember.
And Comisar has one in the auction. So
Dave,
I will tell you, unfortunately, I think it's only like a large, so that's not going to be the best for me. Maybe, squad goals or something. But I feel like I'm going to be going after that jacket, at least, if nothing else. So that was very much an exciting dream come true. And I believe the reserve on that is relatively reasonable. So I'm going to go for the jacket, maybe the Moonlighting. James Comisar, we want to have you on and maybe talk about this when all is said and done. Everyone should go check out the auction. It's on Heritage. Sorry for no blow by blow, but yeah.
It's June 2nd and 3rd. So
go.
hopefully this airs just before or just
after.
I'm
not even sure if this. This may be after. So sorry. Yeah.
But
if
still
you're
paying
cool.
attention, you should
but
know
still
about this
interesting.
Yes.
Whatever. So anyway, but we'll see if I end up with anything. But the jacket would be something that would be very fun because it was very much, as I said, sort of a young me's dream piece, not from a prop collecting standpoint, but a obsession with comedy and David Letterman kind of standpoint. So anyway, we'll see what happens. We have a huge show for everyone today, and
so
it's pretty exciting. I know you're very excited, and I can't wait for you to sort of tell him why. This all happened very accidentally on social media. Hopefully you're following us at Props Podcast on all the social media. Maybe soon to be on Blue Sky. We got to go to Blue Sky. That's, I think, where all the cool kids are headed. Blue Sky, as people abandon Twitter. But this happened, I think, on Twitter, which is one of our fans or something literally just said something along the lines of like, hey, at Props Podcast and Dave and Ryan, you guys should have Rob Liefeld on. And then Rob was like, sure. And I was like, hey, Rob, do you want to do the show? And it was like, yeah. And I've known Rob for years. I know him a little bit through comic art collecting. He's a good guy. And, it's just one of these funny things. And I wrote him and he's like, I've got props. And I figured he did because obviously the Deadpool movies and whatnot. But I think what he has will surprise people in some of his stories and stuff. And so our guest today, so there'll be some comic art talk, but we're going to get to props. Don't you worry. Our guest today is the creator of Deadpool, the creator of Cable. What else can I say?
Cable.
Yeah, creator of Cable, Deadpool,
founder of Image Comics. I mean,
co-founder of Image Comics. Say co-founder of Image Comics. Yes,
one of the youngest professional creator artists in the history of comic books. I mean, he broke in at 18 years old. I mean, I could not believe it when I did a quick Google just to like brush up on the order of things in the history, and I could not believe that he's only 55 years old. I mean, when I was a child, I was reading his comic books. So I just figured he was from this much older generation, but he's only a couple of years older than you, Dave. I mean, it's insane. But yes, the creator of Deadpool and Cable, the artist in that insane New Mutants run that finished the books and became the most sought after back issues, since and then led to the best selling comics of all time, X-Force 1 and X-Men 1. Even Rob did not work on that, but it was that era that fed those things. And it's just incredible. And he's touched so many eras of comic books, and is a comic art and comic book fan, collector, and movie fan
he's a
himself.
Big geek, and it's going to be very cool talking to him. So let's
thrilled to have
bring him on. Yeah, very exciting.
So thank you for joining us, Rob. We're so excited to have you here. And I held this back from the pre-discussion because I have to tell you how impactful you are on my life, because I got into comics essentially in 1991 in the crazy wave. And I don't remember exactly what started it, but there was definitely like a Keaton's Batman 89, as you see over my shoulder here. And that sort of led over. But oddly, I loved Batman, but never got into the rest of DC because my dad was a big DC guy from the Silver Age.
And you hated your father.
The classic story.
You
I did.
Despised him.
No,
and
loved Dad. Love Dad.
I love it.
It was just that was his stuff.
And like nobody's listening in your family.
No, he listens every week, Dave.
Oh dear God.
Dad, Dad listens every week.
Not sure my father knows what a podcast is, but okay.
So we I think it was a combination of the movie and then Batman, and then the cultural consciousness was obviously shifting. But then I remember the trading cards, and my brother and I were big baseball card collectors. So I think that's kind of where it started, and then oddly went from the cards and the sort of the stats on all the heroes and all that to actually reading them. And I dove right into the mutants world. So I came in right in the New Mutants, the end of the New Mutants and the beginning of X-Force and X-Men Blue and X-Men Gold and all that.
Yeah.
And your stuff was just, I mean, that's what sucked me in. My brother and I were two of the 4 million people that bought X-Force 1 when it came out. And
I love it.
We freaking
Do you still
loved
have
it.
yours?
And that was
Ryan, do you still have yours?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I have. The proudest thing that I was able to do as a comic collector, because I was a kid from New Jersey with I mowed people's lawns. I mean, I don't even know if I was doing it at that point. I was probably doing it off my allowance. So it was really hard to go and collect back issues. But the thing that I managed to actually assemble over time was the New Mutants run, the Cable on run. And that was like the proudest thing that I did as a collector. I think the only thing I was missing was 87, because I think that was the one that was still, it was like $50 at that point.
Already it was
crazy.
Too high.
Already. It was already too much. But I think I managed to get, I believe 88 on through. And it was like, one day when I have a real job, I'm going to get that 87. Of course, I never did it, but I should go back and do that.
I know a guy who can send you a copy. I do.
Fantastic. That would be great. But no, thank you so much. I mean, it was like, that was such all the things that conspire to make us creative people, and you never know, it's like an alchemy thing, but definitely like your era, Image then, and Image Comics and all that, it was a huge thing in my life. So when Dave said that he was not only friends with you, but that you were coming on, I got very excited. So it's a thrill to meet you.
This show, I love it. I'm so excited to be a part of it with you guys. You have no idea. Obviously, I'm huge fans of both of you. So, and I gave you all my blow before the show. So, obviously, Dave Mandel, entire career, pretty much your entire career. Like I said, you guys are appointment viewing for me, Titans. So I'm so excited to be on geeking out with you guys. I want to share with you one key story that I'm not sure everybody knows, and it ties into your Batman 1989 kind of jumping off point, because you got to understand at that point, I've been at Marvel for about 2.5 years. I was at DC about a year prior to that, but the rivalry, those publishing companies, especially both being in New York City at the time, super, super competitive. They knew that like Batman broke open, the dam for comic book movies. And the thing that helped, I think quell some of their envy, Marvel, is they had hard data about 4 weeks into when Batman 89 came out. Marvel would be like, Batman 89 drove people to comic stores in record numbers, and they came out with more Marvel comics, like 5 to 1 than DC. And the head of the Marvel sales department, his name was Sven Larson. He would be like, Rob, because I was in New York, I visited that summer, and they're like, Rob, we're killing it. How's this for a statistic? People are going in, they're buying 1 Batman and 4 Marvel. And I'm like, that competitiveness, like literally, so when Batman 89, it really did draw kids to comic stores, and I do believe it ignited that entire era. So great call there, because like I said, they have the data. There's nothing better than
that is a hilarious statistic. I love the idea that the entire sort of mutant revolution was fueled amazing. By Batman 89. Yeah,
by Batman
and Michael Keaton.
Yeah,
Tim Burton. Yes.
Yeah.
Marvel just knew. That, look, it's that Marvel appeal. I mean, and at the time, if you go back and you look, Marvel was really their books were getting their act together. They were doing better stuff. That DC like epiphany when they were like on top had been like 86, 87, 88. So they had their big surge, and now Marvel was coming back. So it all fits. It's great. So I love that you mentioned Batman 89, because again, that whenever I think of that, I think of the data they love to rub in your face.
Rob, I have a question for you. Oh, go ahead. Go, Ryan. You first.
No, I was just going to say that was it. I mean, that was such a, I was a big Star Wars kid, of course, and Indiana Jones and all that. But that was I was 9. I was 9 turning 10 the summer that Batman came out. That was like my movie, the one that I got to see in the theater. Like everything else that I loved was a VHS thing, which was great. But being able to own that summer, it was just such a huge moment, and it was particular. When you're starting in that particular age, I think you're starting to figure out who you are as a person and what you like to read and what you kind of want to do in the future. And all of that stuff just kind of conspired to make me want to be some kind of writer. And I messed around. I was a terrible artist, but I messed around trying to draw comics. And then I had a friend who was a good artist. So I would write stories and he would draw them. And it all kind of, started there. And I have a very fond memory of that period of time in my life.
I love it. Me too. And being in line at midnight to see Batman, which was one of the first preview screenings I ever remember being at, because they started at midnight, and I'm like, I'm 21, and I'm like, I'm waiting in line for Batman with these other thousands of people. So I love it.
So were you drawing at that point already? Were you trying to break in?
So I'm transitioning from New Mutants to X-Force during I'm sorry. I'm right on New Mutants doing like Cable 87 and 88. Okay. Sorry, in 1989. Okay. Yeah, I've been at Marvel for, like I said, about a year and a half during that period.
How old were you when you became a professional?
So I broke in at 18. Very fortunate. Wow. As I said, I was going to be like some. I don't know. My father-in-law had a successful janitorial business, so I don't want to put down janitors, but I felt like I was headed for a janitorial position or something, because I didn't go to college. I was not a good student. I was not going to be a doctor, a lawyer. My parents were terribly concerned about me, my mom especially, and always smacking me on the head. Get your head out of a comic book. You can't really make a living at that. I'm like, trust me. So it was, I was fortunate to break in 1987 WonderCon, first WonderCon. Went there, showed my portfolio to Mark Grunwald, and he hired me on the spot. And no one was more shocked. No one was more shocked than I was. So, and then I literally never looked back.
Well, so you got hired at Marvel by Grunwald, but I guess in my mind, what I remember first was Hawk and Dove. So how did you then end up? Because, by the way, prop fans, we're going to get to props, but this is going to be comics, props, a little bit of everything today, just in case. Yeah, we're going everywhere. No, we'll get to props, but right now, fuck props. I want to know how you ended up in DC. I want to talk Hawk and Dove. We're going to talk Hawk and Dove for about the next 3 hours, and then we will go forward. Okay? Yeah.
So Dave, this is a great, thank you. We can set the timeline. So Grunwald literally hires me. I'm so excited. I'm like, legit. Oh my gosh, the drive home, because I drove up there because they had such a huge bunch of publishers that were going to be at the very first WonderCon. And literally, not only did I didn't even get turned down. They said, we're not accepting samples. We're not First Comics, no thanks. Dark Horse, no thanks. Eclipse, no thanks. Dick Giordano for DC took my samples and said, I'm not going to review these, but I'll take them home and I'll get back to you. Grunwald hires me and says, look, we're going to send you some Marvel Universe handbook stuff. Now, here's the reason I love, and that saw print in 1987 because the head kind of CFO, whatever, of Marvel Comics, I was joking with him a couple of years ago, and I said, I've been through 7 editorials. I've been through 7 editor EICs, editor-in-chiefs. And he's like, F you. No, you haven't. You weren't here for Shooter. I'm like, F you, asshole. I said, look at Marvel Universe
handbook, Book of the
Shooter.
Dead. Gotcha.
I did the entire Zodiac. And so he's like, oh shit, you're right. And so literally they gave me, Grunwald sent those out to me. I drew the Zodiac for the Book of the Dead. But then DC called me and I was supposed to get a solo Avengers assignment, but Hawk and Dove came into play. And I jumped at that opportunity because I thought what Carl Kiesel and Barbara Kiesel, now Barbara Randall, had in store was, I was like, I can make this book work. And the great thing is, Dave, and I tell this with such pride, everybody turned down Hawk and Dove. I literally was told, we have 7 other guys, we want to do it, and we're waiting. And I would be like, did anyone else turn it down? Turn it down. I actually knew the 6th guy. I'm like, are you going to turn it down? He's like, yeah, I'm not doing that job. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to wait. So I literally, it's like being picked last in the schoolyard.
Do you have a sense, were people scared of the Ditko of it all, or they just thought it was old fashioned, or what was it? Do you have any idea why they were turning it down? I know it's a million years ago. Yeah.
This is the period where royalties were driving everybody's decisions.
And so it just seemed like nothing. Yeah.
I think people were like, that book's not going to sell.
Right.
If I'm going to give a year of my life to something, I mean, Hawk and Dove had never worked.
Right.
It had been with Gil Kane and Steve Ditko.
Right. It still didn't work. No, I get it.
Ditko lead.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, Gil Kane. So some of Frank Miller's great Daredevil work is influenced by those Gil Kane issues.
Absolutely.
If you look at them, the rooftop issues, and you're like, Gil Kane was on fire. But yeah, the bottom line is, I think I just got it because people were like, that's not going to work. And then I literally was the super hungry kid who I got it. I loved Female Dove. I thought we can punch this through. We can make this work. And it just worked.
Oh,
thank you.
That's fantastic. Okay. I was curious if they somehow if there was more they stole you or whatever, but it just was honest to God.
Literally I'm trying to make a living, and people, you don't understand. I was, 18, needed to pay rent. I'll take whatever job. You never forget those days where you're like, I got to keep the power on. I got to pay the landlord. So
So let's go all the way back. Let's just hold on. Let's just go all the way back, just because obviously we're sitting here and behind you, obviously there's things you're going to show us. There's Marvel, whatever. There's obviously Burn X-Men, which is, I think, when we first met, it was always like sort of Burn X-Men, Burn X-Men, Burn X-Men. But I know you're a comic fan. So just take us back to tiny Rob Liefeld. Take us back to you as a youth. You're reading comics. Your folks are letting you buy comics. You're reading comics. Are you reading Marvel and DC? Where are you? What are you? Take us through the journey. Your version.
Dave, I'm reading them.
And
I'm
are
reading
you
them
collecting?
all.
What are you collecting in general? Because you are someone that strikes me as, we always say, has the collector's gene, and you have the collector's gene.
Well, so when it came to collecting, I just didn't know I'd be able to have this stuff. When you go to so I'm going to start back. I was introduced to comics on the spinner rack. I'm not sure if the spinner rack's in the frame.
Yep.
But,
it is.
But I was there. So 1974 is my introduction. My barber has Fantastic Four 147 with Prince Namor, Submariner. I traded him my Richie Rich comics. He let me have it. I was like, whoa. Then I literally started with my buddies, and 7 years old again. It's the reason I want to go back to the 70s. Your parents did not have a problem with you getting on a bike or a skateboard at 7 and going 3 blocks down the road
for like 13 hours. Like, we'll hear from you. Maybe you'll come home for dinner. Yeah.
By the time I get to 9 and 10, it is those kind of days. Like, I won't see my parents for 14 hours, get home at 11 o'clock, and they're like, where have you been all day? And you go, I would never let my kids I got to track them now. I mean, Dave, what were we, our parents? They were just like, okay, these kids disappeared. Maybe they got kidnapped. And again, this is like during all the serial killer era of the 70s. But anyway, 3 blocks up the road, I tell people, and I drive there once a year. It's in Anaheim. It's Magnolia and Broadway are the cross streets. It's not too far from Knott's Berry Farm, which is a big amusement park in Orange County. On that crosswalk, or those 4 lights, there is a 7-Eleven, there is a liquor store, there is a grocery store, and there's a Pizza Hut. The 7-Eleven jumped and became the liquor store in the 80s. Okay. So the 7-Eleven and the Pizza Hut are still there. But I would get comics from the grocery store, the liquor store, and the 7-Eleven, and I would try and get them on the way home. My dad was a minister. And on the way home from Sunday night church, and I could not believe I had to go to church on Sunday nights. I was like, this sucks. The $6 Million Man is on. Like, I can't be going to church. And there's no VCRs, So I would get home. I mean, I would run out of the car and turn on and watch the last 15 minutes. And I learned how to light a temperature thermometer so I could stay home for the season premiere with the Sasquatch, because I was not missing that one. But every time we drove home from church, my dad would swing by the 7-Eleven and he'd get something. My mom and he'd get it. She loved Pepsi, probably another liter of Pepsi or whatever. And I would try and go get comics. And there was an Avengers issue where Thor is fighting Frankenstein. And I was like, holy shit. My whole life was like, oh my gosh, I have to have this. And he took it out of my hands like, no, like Frankenstein, everything's from the devil, right? It's Kiss, Kings in Satan's Service. My sister's getting reamed. She's 7 years older than I am.
So this was him as a minister just going, absolutely not Frankenstein.
Like these are bad for you. And my mom was also like, we don't Robbie. So what I learned is, well, I can skateboard up there and use my lunch money and get all these. And stupidly, I was hiding them under the washer and dryer because I'm a dumbass. Because when I went to retrieve them, they're soaking wet.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm the stupidest 7-8-year-old that ever lived. But I got smarter. But again, and then I went to the liquor store, and I'm telling you, to this day, that spinner rack, they never returned their comics. So you'd be like, wait, there's a comic from 9 months ago on this rack. Like it was back then where you'd be like, I can get X-Men 96, 97, and 98. And they were beat to shit. I love when people, the common thing I get about my spinner rack, which is kind of a prop, is they're like, why don't you bag and board these? I'm like, these weren't bagged and board as a kid. I'm reading, like, you didn't walk in with a bag and a board. Liquor stores just put them, and they make them so thick that they were bent over, and you just wanted the comic. Condition was not something we grew up with. Condition and grading and 9 this, 8 this. So I just display them the way I got them. But that became a lifelong obsession. I mean, you guys, I I
is
just
that,
could
I'm
not.
going to ask
I
you a
bought
question.
I bought
Is that
everything.
are those your originals, or those from you? Some of those from you?
These
yours
are all
as a
my
kid?
reader copies.
Oh, wonderful.
I have bought everything you see here is bagged and boarded in a
Sure.
box in a much nicer condition. And you know what? When my nephews or my kids' friends, I say, take them off. You can take them and read them. They're
Gotcha.
here for people to interact with. I pull them off all the time. I learned that rather than look at these, I'm looking down at my omnibuses down here. The omnibuses are nice, but the paper is so white. It's not. The newsprint is the way to go. Yeah. I know I'm speaking to you, Dave. Nope. As far as collecting, once I started making money in comics, and I think the first time I saw originals was 1980, George Perez.
So that God was your first. So you get money in your pocket, and original comic art is the first thing you kind of you reach for.
But all the way back in the 80s.
Yes, sir.
In like
13,
the early 80s. But,
yes.
But where are you finding that at that point?
Shows, right? I mean, it's got to be shows.
Yes, yeah. George Perez. So the great thing about Orange County, there was a convention circuit called Creation Con, and they would do at least one or two at the Disneyland Hotel. And again, my folks would have no problem because they knew what a complete obsession I had, and I would save all my lawn mowing money because I mowed lawns all over the neighborhood to keep making money and to save. So I'd get a convention, I'd save for that. We would go again to Orange County. John Byrne, Dave Cockrum, George Perez, Jim Shooter, Chris Claremont, everybody came out to Disneyland. They always wanted to be here in Southern California. George would come all the time. And one time he brought with his dealer, they literally brought stacks, and I literally watched people buy like 4 Titans covers. And I was so like, oh my gosh, I ended up getting a Justice League page from when he did the Justice League because it was in my price range because I couldn't afford it. But man,
was Justice League cheaper than Avengers? Was there like, or Titans was number 1, like Avengers 2?
Titans was the top.
Yeah. Very few
Avengers pages, very few, mostly all DC work. The Who's Who stuff was, he had some Who's Who, so yeah, this is probably 1981. So no, the Who's Who's would come later, but the early Titans and the Justice League work, and obviously I couldn't afford splash pages or covers. And you learn right then. I mean, and Dave, there were big high rollers, man. They were just leaving with stacks, and I was like,
sure, but high rollers buying these pages for what, $100 each? I mean, that's the other thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
My page was $80, and it was a good action page with the New Gods and Justice League and Darkseid firing his blast out of his.
Oh, that's I love that. I love those issues. Yes. Those issues are so damn good.
Yes.
Those are the issues where like Dick Dillon like died at his drawing board or something like that, and that's how Perez got the book and took it over. Those are so good. Those issues, yeah.
And as a fan who, George was my favorite artist at Marvel. Now he's doing DC, and then you're like, oh crap, it's his first issues. And we learned about it in the letters page afterwards that he took over for Dick Dillon because Dick Dillon died. But as a Perez fan, you're like, he's drawing Superman, he's drawing the Justice League, the Justice Society, and the New Gods and Darkseid, and because we cross over in that age group, and so look, man, does everyone here know all about your art, Dave? Does everyone
we've talked about it. We've talked a bit about it.
This man is the king of original art, people, and if he hasn't told you that, you're freaking you're being fooled. But good luck getting to it. I'm sure it's behind 5 like armed guards and a fortress now. But no, when I sat with you, I'm going to tell everybody, I'm like, you have every Paul Smith cover of the X-Men. I'm holding them. How is this possible? Like, Dave, to this day, I'm like, he had every Paul Smith cover. Like, how does that happen in life? Oh, and did I mention all the Frank Miller Wolverine covers?
Yeah.
So yeah. Dave couldn't be more. Like, that was so fun.
I say that all the time, Rob, or maybe not enough, but it's because this tends to be a movie prop collecting podcast. And Dave has an incredible movie prop collection, but I always sort of say, like, I don't think you realize the comic art. It's like, this is his like side gig. The comic art is so much bigger.
Well, because there already were some comic art podcasts. That's how I got fucked here.
So, yeah, I listened to Dave. Right, yeah. Dave, I got caught up in your obsession with props when you went on and did a podcast about the Dark Knight the Dark Knight cover last year selling the number one.
Yes.
And you were talking about, and you would then segued into, you had your eye on some of the Star Wars props coming up into an auction. And then I'm pretty sure you said you didn't get it.
I didn't get the Dark Knight. I definitely did not get the Dark Knight. I had some issues with that. But
the Star Wars prop. You were talking about a Star Wars prop that you were focused on.
Yes, and I lost.
So,
it was a huge, the X-Wing, and it went crazy, and I went crazy too. But with a plan of like, I'm just going to sell some comic art, but it never happened.
I'm going to sell my Dark Knight art. Yeah.
So do you guys have to like, do you factor in explaining to family and spouses this stuff? Because it's getting harder. I got to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, the numbers have definitely. I have to prove myself. I find in a way now, where at least I have to give an accounting of this came in, but this went out, because the numbers on face value look bananas. They just it's
insane. It was sort of easier as a dalliance earlier. I feel like this was a thing that was sort of baked into my relationship, because I started collecting right around the same time that I met my now wife, and at the time it was just a girlfriend, serious girlfriend, but girlfriend, and it was sort of cooked into it. So I think like this is okay, because it's sort of been accepted as a interesting facet, I hope, of my personality and my interest. And also, as Dave has done over the last 15 years, because we have good taste, we've done well. So not that we're doing this for money or to make money or to things increasing in value, but we have good taste, and the things that we have bought have done very well. So it's like, okay, as an investment, like I can see that you know what you're doing, so I trust you and whatever. But it's gotten pretty, as with the comic art, COVID really accelerated a lot of that. It's gotten pretty crazy, and the conversations tend to be a little bit more serious now than I think they once were, because people it's nostalgia, and people just
it is. But I'm with you guys, as long as we
connection.
Look, the auctions are helping. The auctions are helping a great deal.
Yeah.
Look at this, honey. Look at this.
But Rob, do you ever think about?
But as my wife always says, Rob, if for it to be an investment, you have to sell it one day.
That's it.
And
I'm leaving that to my kids. I'm leaving that nightmare to my kids, and I'm trying to work out a plan now. So,
do your kids live? Rob, I'm going to jump to that. Do your kids care? Do they care about any of your stuff, like any of it? I mean,
no, they don't. It's
not at all. Okay, it's just
they have their own. So it's. I've tried to communicate with them, and last summer I took my oldest out just because I'm like, look, man, if anything happens to me, here's who you call. Here's the guy I trust to guide you through this. I want you to listen, because he's in a financial, job now. And I said, you'll understand some of the prices on this stuff, and this is the stuff I want you to hold. And so, I mean, but they still don't understand it. But then they have incredibly, both of my sons are giant, and I watched it grow. They are giant Funko collectors, and now getting 12. And I know Funko itself is having a weird, time in the business, but the earlier stuff from 15 years ago, 12 years ago,
the
that they
rare
bought,
earlier stuff. Yep, of course. Yeah.
They have all that stuff, because I would take them to Comic-Con. See, here's the funny thing is, I remember in 2009, so that would make my oldest 9, my youngest son would be 7, and my daughter is 6 at that time. And we figured we'll go to the Grand Wailea in Maui. We'll go there for 10 days. We'll have this great tropical vacation. It'll be great. And the kids, they literally had a best time, such a fun time. But at the end of the summer, so a week later, it's about, we're going back to school. And I said, hey, everybody, what was your favorite vacation? What was your favorite trip we took? We went to the lake. We went to Maui. Comic-Con. And I looked at my sister, my wife, and I said, just shoot me. I can't, like, those 5 days at Comic-Con, because they have been going since they can remember, and they've been buying stuff ever since. And the Funkos, because Dad goes with them, and we get in line and we get those early Funkos. And so they really, boy, I was accused of backing up into one and denting the window frame on a Funko. And I'm like, okay, so now you understand so now we connect. Your Funkos, except my stuff's worth more money. So I'm trying to get them.
So they at least have that collecting thing. They just don't care about your stuff. That's something, though. That counts.
Yeah. It's in there. But look, it'll happen. They're getting smarter. And trust me, my middle son did come to me about 6 months ago and say, "Hey, Dad, you've talked about this collection. How do I get first choice?" And so I'm like,
I know I'm second born, but I want first choice. Yeah.
Honestly, Dave, I feel like he won just by being the first one to ask.
Yeah.
I kind of was like, I'm going to take this into account. I won't be here. So
here's the question: if you had first choice, what would you pick? That's the question. I want to know what he would pick.
Yeah, and they're not going to pick the right stuff. They just don't love it. They just don't love it.
So do you? I mean, I know you're a collector, so you have the stuff that you loved as a fan and a kid and a reader. But do you also still have a huge collection of your stuff?
Yes. Now here's the great thing, and people need to understand this, and I want them to my peer group, Todd McFarlane, Jim Lee, we all knew each other extremely well. We visited each other's homes. We obviously started a business together. We would compare selling art all the time back then. And I'm telling you, in 1990, 1991, if a collector came up to you and offered you $1,500 or $2,000, I mean, I remember when Todd goes, I just sold this for $2,000. And it's like, whoa, like that's the new bar, a $2,000 sale. Those were not happening with great regularity. 500, 800, those were, covers 1,500. And then Jim and I put our X-Force #1 and X-Men #1 were both in the Sotheby's auction.
The Sotheby's auction, that's a huge auction. And by the way, just hold really quickly for collectors and fans, those catalogs are still out there. They're gettable. You can find them on eBay and stuff. That is, if you're a comic art guy, if you're just a comic guy, and hey, even if you're a prop guy, the old Sotheby's and Christie's comic art catalogs, but that one in particular that had X-Force and X-Men 1 in it is an incredible catalog.
That's wild.
Just to see. See it. Yeah.
When is that? What year is that?
So that is winter of 1992, I believe, or okay. It's either end of 91, maybe November 91 or February 92. It's right in that range. X-Force, X-Men both sell for $50,000 each, entire issues. And those were like big deals now.
Huge,
now a single page of New Mutants.
A page is more
sells
than
100.
Yeah.
So, but the point I'm getting at is, like, I was at Todd's about 7 years ago. I said, "Do you have any more Spider-Man art?" And he's like, "I have a double pager." He's like, the point is, I think Jim maybe has 10 pages. I have 5 pages of New Mutants. But since then, and we all knew that there were guys like an artist named Walt Simonson who would sit on all his work. But then there was a guy like George Perez who would always say to us, "If I like it enough, I'll redraw it. Otherwise, I'm selling it." And I was like, I loved it. If I like it enough, I'll redraw it. I'll draw it again. But for now, I sell. And I'm like, we all kind of adopted that. Now, since in the last 10 years, I've sat on, like, I did a Deadpool graphic novel about 8 years ago. It's 110 pages with covers. I'm not selling that. In the last 15 years, I've sat on everything. And I have some pages from the 90s, but most of us, they're gone. And we're happy. We're happy with what they sold. And when they sell for $100,000 a page or whatever, that's killer. Like, that's amazing.
Oh, it's incredible. Have you ever been tempted when you've seen a page of yours, like, to buy it back? Have you ever thought about it at all? You have?
Yes.
A particular one or all of them?
I'm going to tell you right now, and I know the guy who has it. So, because Dave, at some point you go, I just don't feel good about this. The gentleman, so Cable's first appearance in New Mutants 87 it's one of my favorite pages in the whole run.
Yep.
He's running up the hall with his gun. There's a close up. It's a great action page. It's a signature page. The guy who owns it is a collector in Texas. He calls me in 2017, late 2017, says, "Rob, I want to offer this to you for $30,000. And I said, "Oh shit, that's a lot." I'm going to buy my own art back at $30,000. And I know that Josh Brolin is playing Cable at this point. He's been cast. I know it. But I go, that would be like, I don't feel good about that. Mm-hmm. And so I passed. And now that page is easily 120. Now, what I did is I connected him with my friend, and I said, "Would you sell it to my friend? He'll buy it right now." My friend bought it so I can go see it. At least I can go see the
You know where it is.
Yeah.
You know where it is, exactly.
I
do understand that, though, and it wasn't about it wasn't an investment or non-investment. And I understand that the cash value is, but let's take that out of it. You made something, you put it into the world, you made a decision to sell it, and the idea of crazily over like paying $30,000, regardless of even if that's a bargain price or even if it's not, for something that you came out. I don't know. I do understand that. Allegedly, and of course he's never come on the show to answer this, but allegedly George Lucas, who has been buying like props and art and stuff for his museum, won't really buy a Star Wars prop back because he feels like they were his to begin with. Like it just the idea of like he'll spend money on something from Ben-Hur, but the idea of you're missing this from Star Wars. Again, I don't know if it's true or not, but that's sort of similar, and I understand it. Like, but I had it; it was mine. It shouldn't be paid. I don't know. Yeah.
Yes. No.
Dave spent $5,000 on a tube of lipstick from his own television show. By comparison,
that was not on purpose.
I love it.
That was not on purpose. I got screwed. But
I'm sorry. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't. Look, I could do it, but I couldn't do it. It's what you said. I just go. This feels weird to me. That just doesn't feel. So anyway, that's the answer, and I'm sure it'll honestly, Dave, some of the other stuff. I know the guy who has New Mutants 98, and he has told me to my face he has turned down 7 figures. So I
believe it.
I'm never buying that. Like that's out of my range.
I believe it. Yeah.
My wife would be like, "We're done." So
I was good with everything, but not that.
That's it.
Yeah.
So what was your if you had a Holy Grail comic art piece, not from your own your own oeuvre? Okay.
Okay.
So sure.
So this is going to go for millions someday if it goes, because supposedly it's going to go to a museum. And if you know the history of the X-Men, Terry Austin has this. He has 7 pages of every issue, and he's been really good about keeping them under wraps. I mean, so one guy has the majority of the available X-Men art in the world. I tell people, this isn't nostalgia, and it is, but it's also, why did one giant studio have X-Men for 22 years and only make this run? Because this is and why did the X-Men cartoon the majority of those stories are from this run? This is the gold standard. This is when X-Men became the X-Men, and it is still some of, if not the best art ever produced in the history of comic books. And today,
Rob is holding up the Days of Future Past, the cover from Days of Future Past.
All right, I forgot. Not everybody's watching. There's some people are listening. Yeah. I forgot. This is radio. Yes.
X-Men 141. X-Men 141. This cover is, to me, like, would I try and figure out how to get to it? I would. Would I go up against guys like Dave and lose? I would. But I would. It would. But
it's funny. I can sit here and I can say to you, I'll bid. I don't expect to win. I can sit here and say that. I assume there's just other folks. I mean, I don't know what to say.
I think that would be an all-time record.
Honestly,
me too.
Like if you were I don't even know who, like Bill Gates should be convinced that he should buy that and put it next to the fucking codex. You know what I mean? Like the Leonardo Codex, and just put the cover to X-Men 141 right next to the codex. I just like
that was that was the most money I ever spent on a back issue. I finally tracked one of those down. I just had to have it. I probably spent like $50.
Rob, do you have any? Have you ever had an interior, or do you have an interior from that store from the Days of Future Past from the storyline?
Yes, I do. I have a couple pages, and I think they're and I have literally. So what I do own is it's 142. It's the next issue. I have my favorite page in the entire X-Men saga. I own it. And I have my childhood renderings of that shot. So it's even more eerie. And see, to me, that's way more.
That's great.
That's worth more than anything I ever
What's
drew.
The page? What's your favorite page in 142? I have the splash to 142, which I always loved because you get Kitty in the middle and you get the future and the present on both sides of her. And I felt like, because honestly, it's the only one I have from the entire 2 issues, and it was like, well, at least it's got a little bit of everything on it. Yeah.
I didn't know you had that.
But no dialogue, no story. You know what I mean? Just more of an overview. So
well, you know what? I was going to say I can't run and get it, but I forgot I have the artist edition right here. I can show you.
Oh, great.
It's you have no idea how many times I drew this shot. I mean, literally no idea how many times that I drew this page. And so I gave this scan to this book. So wait, this is yours?
Yeah, that's my scan. Yeah, that's my page. That's my scan. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Mandel. My life is complete. Okay. So
Dave.
So here's the deal. Here it is. So this is the page right here.
Oh, the sheathing the claws. Yep. Yep. So great.
And his boys and look, John Bernoulli is doing with this shot down here. The proximity of that claw to her chest is uncomfortable, but this shot right here, I drew this Wolverine shot 3 or 4 or 5 times, giant poster board. And again, it's a great Nightcrawler, Wolverine, Storm. To me, like this page, that's
it's a perfect character page in the middle of 17 the giant for people
story.
Who are listening. Yeah. That's
page
incredible.
17 of X-Men 142. That is my favorite page of X-Men art that I own, and I have splash pages too. But like that is, the brown costume meant so much to fans. We love that brown costume, and so anyway, that's fantastic.
As you know, in the world of entertainment collectibles, buying from a trusted source like Prop Store is extremely important. Prop Store's
June 28th.
You
know that.
Prop Store's June 28th to 30th Los Angeles Entertainment Memorabilia Live auction with over 1,400 lots will feature items from a number of collections with interesting provenance. The online catalog is now available for pre-bidding. Go to propstore.com right now to review the entire catalog and look for items from the following collections in the auction. Dave.
Our old friend Mario Kerner. There are 11 lots from the Mario Kerner collection from Friday the 13th Props Museum. There are 11 lots from the Friday the 13th Props Museum collection of Mario Kerner, also known as the Mario Kerner collection, including Jason Voorhees's, Kate Hodder's screen-matched hockey mask and his costume from Friday the 13th, Part 7, The New Blood, each sold separately. That just sounds scary, even just saying that. That's how scared I am of that stuff.
There's also the Rich Weaver collection. Weaver was the personal assistant and friend of Emmy and Golden Globe award-winning actress Estelle Getty. The collection includes a range of items from Stuart Little and Brotherly Love, script signed and annotated in Getty's own hand, from Stop or My Mom Will Shoot, and her personal director's chairs and crew materials from the hit series Empty Nest, and of course, The Golden Girls.
I think I would have led with Golden Girls there. I think I would have started with Golden Girls and worked my way to Stop or My Mom Will Shoot. I don't know, but I guess, of course, Golden Girls is... anyway.
What do you know?
The Stuart Ziff collection. Ziff, who led the Ghost Shop for Ghostbusters, has consigned a number of never-before-offered pieces, including a Terror Dog headset, oh, that sounds cool, with insert shot eye, a Stay Puft stretching mechanical head prototype, and the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man's Bill Bryan, I guess someone was in there, his red tie. So that's kind of cool. So you can kind of put that together. That's kind of neat. I look forward to that.
There's also the Sam Neill collection, Dr. Alan Grant from Jurassic Park. Prop Store is proud to present select Jurassic Park and Jurassic World lots from this master actor's personal archive to the public for the first time, including his hat and other costume components from Jurassic World Dominion. Profits from the sales of lots in the Sam Neill collection will benefit UNICEF's children's charity.
Thank you, Sam Neill. And Sam Neill will be a guest. Oh, no, he will not be. Oh, so I'm sorry. Sam Neill will not be a guest on our show anytime soon.
He's not coming.
But yeah, no. Also, the William Plum Star Wars artwork collection. I actually used to know Bill Plum. Plum has been a forefront of Star Wars and science fiction original art collecting, has been at the forefront of Star Wars and science fiction original art collecting for 40 years. And he developed personal relationships with many of the most renowned artists in the industry, including Ralph McQuarrie, Drew Struzan, Lawrence Noble, and Dave Dorman. Included in the auction are Dave Dorman's cover painting for Star Wars Dark Empire #6 and a Lawrence Noble bronze Yoda statue artist proof, similar to the one displayed at Lucasfilm's Presidio campus fountain, along with a host of other amazing Star Wars art pieces. I don't know what Bill Plum has left, but his collection was insane. I mean, truly insane. So Star Wars fans, Star Wars artwork fans, that is going to be something to see. That is a coup. I did not know he was selling. That's pretty wonderful. Listen along to the upcoming special Prop Store catalog episode of the Stuff Dreams Are Made Of, and go to propstore.com to check out the full auction catalog in advance so you can be prepared as Dave and Ryan give their opinions on lots in the auction. That's us.
Also, don't forget the Prop Store's Season 5, The Stuff Dreams Are Made Of contest is coming to an end on July 4th, 2023. So that's celebrating Dave's independence from trophies. Use Dave 10 or Ryan 10 discount code at propstore.com to get 10% off your buy now order and vote for your favorite podcast host at the same time. And
I'm going to hire Hessian mercenaries, much like the American Revolution, to vote for me and spend money and sort of fund my own sort of thing. Yes.
Do it. And your purchase will also qualify you to win a pile of stuff from your favorite host.
You know what I was thinking of putting into the pile? I feel like somewhere I've got like an extra, possibly like some old crew shirts from things I've worked on. So I gotta dig for that. I'm not just talking about White House Plumbers. I think I've got some random crew shirts, but also maybe from like friend shows that I didn't work on, like just from like years ago, like really random stuff. So I may throw one or two of those in there if I can find it.
Great.
At some point we have to picture that stuff. But anyway, great. Ad done. So hey, I'm going backwards one more time. So when New Mutants, when everything sort of hits, when you have your moment, if I may call it that, and it's like, New Mutants first, obviously, then followed by X-Force, and you got Cable and Deadpool's in there, whatever, and somewhere in there is like the Levi's commercial and Spike Lee, and everything. Collectible wise, what do you spend your money? What's this? What collectible? What did you buy when you had when there's now money in your pocket? It's not lawnmower money. It's not like am I paying rent? Am I what am I? I don't need to whatever. But like just fuck it money. What did you buy? What did you have to have collectibles wise?
So John Byrne's agent came to see me, and I bought a bunch of complete issues of Fantastic Four and Alpha Flight. Oh, wow. And I bought all 6 of the Man of Steel Superman relaunch covers. I went hard because again, Byrne he's just the guy. He was my favorite.
Yep.
So that's the crazy spend. And then a little after that, and you know this, I bought the George Perez Justice League Avengers directly from George. That would be like a year later.
This is for people that don't know. There was an attempt #1 for non-comic fans of a Justice League Avengers crossover that George Perez penciled a bunch of pages, sort of inked a couple of them, and it was kind of nothing was completed. Years later, they redid it, but they threw those pages out and he completely started from scratch. But those pages were incredible. They were much better. I'm sorry to say.
I'm going to tell you something. People ask me all the time. I angry sold those. And I've told people, Dave, I'm going to be honest. Having them was the great pleasure of my life because it was like having, and I would tell this to people, it was like having 15 minutes of Star Wars that has never been seen.
No one ever got to see it. Yeah, exactly.
Yes. And then I can tell you where I was at my computer, looking at the screen when they announced that they were going to actually do JLA Avengers. And I went, bullshit. Like, I don't have anything special anymore because now there's going to be 200 of those pages. And I sent those to the auction house. I mean, I have never been so angry because I just said, those aren't special to me anymore. They're not like I had something that was unique and now they're doing it. They're pulling. I was irrational, like just angry, pissed.
No, but and like I've gotten rid of stuff that has bothered that like I don't know, this is not a perfect example, but I used to have, we're talking about Perez. I used to have a lot more Crisis on Infinite Earth stuff. Nothing like killer. It's not like I'm saying I had the cover or anything like that, but I had nice pages. A couple of things that were kind of interesting. I had the monitor tapes.
You have the whole issue of The Death of Supergirl?
No, I never had that. I just had nice pages here and there. I had nice pages, and I had the monitor tapes, which were those pencil pieces that ran along the bottom, and those I had that complete, and that was really cool. But I got to tell you, as they've undone Crisis over the years, as they kind of pulled at the threads and made it not count and not happen, in a weird way, and maybe this was naive, but it's sort of similar. Not that I got angry, but I just started to be annoyed, I guess. I was more annoyed than angry that these pages sort of started to seem irrelevant. And I ended up, I don't know, I got rid of them all. I mean, not all. I think I have one, but
Dave,
I let go of stuff because, and again, maybe it was stupid, but I felt like they pissed all over it in a weird way. I don't know. Yeah.
Angry selling is a thing, and we need to discuss it. The thing is, literally, it was an emotional value. I had something only I had. Now it's going to be everywhere, and it was an event that never took flight, and now it's going to happen. So it's an emotional value and a monetary value, and I mean, I just ditched it. And then the funniest thing was the guys at Marvel at the time when they did the hardcover of the collecting, they're like, well, hey, you had those. I go, I don't have them. I sold them. And they're like, do you have scans? I said, I didn't even take copies. And they were like, literally, I was saying, you don't have the right to take this. Yeah. No, I said, this is, I told the Marvel guy, you don't have the right. Yeah. You don't have the right to take this tone with me. The tone you're taking with me right now, like that I should have preserved them. Like, no. You shouldn't have done the crossover.
You should have printed it. Yeah, you should have done it back in the day, and you should have never done this stupid book. Yeah, well.
So no. But that was look. I started like you guys. You would buy collectibles and art that you love, and it's fun. It's with every one of the Byrne X-Men pages, of which now I'll never be in Terry Austin's category, but I've gotten my whole thing was to have a issue's worth of pages, and now I have like 20 X-Men Byrne Austin pages, and and then I have I think I have 35 John Byrne pages, period. Like that's but it's all nice stuff I love. And I when you hold it, you go, I can't believe I'm holding this. Little Robbie owns this page, that's rad. It's so rad.
That's the best.
Every now and then I thumb through my sorry, really quick, Ryan. Every now and then I go through my Byrne stuff and I think to myself, I've got too much. I should just what if I just got rid of one? You know what I mean? Like I've got too much. I should just leave one. Yeah.
Give one to my co-host because he loves it too so much.
And I'll take one out and I'll think I'll think this is the worst one, whatever that means. And I pull it out.
Yeah.
And I stare at it and I go, oh, it's a good page. And I just put it back in and I shut it. Yeah. Yeah. The Byrne stuff gives real pleasure right from the get-go. Yeah. There's just something about it.
And I know it's a prop show. And my very first prop that I have a funny story to go with that. The Conan sword is like my.
Wait. Before we transition to props, I just have one more question.
Yes.
So
go ahead.
Are you still actively seeking out and acquiring comic art from your childhood, things that you love? Are you watching the auctions? Are you still in it?
Okay. Right now, still in it, doing deals. I sometimes know what it's like to feel like Dave Mandel now because I am on the circuit. I was literally getting the milk out of the refrigerator the other day. I get a text from a known collector, who I've never spoken to, but I know him. Rob, I'd like to talk to you about the value of John Byrne X-Men art. And I said, can I ask what this is about? He goes, well, I'm in a trade and I wanted to run the value by you. And you know what? I gave him the honest assessment. It's a great page. I wish him well, but people, I am now at the point where there are pages that you go, I don't want this. I'm going to pass on this because now I'm only, and Dave told me this 20 years ago, you're going to want to just start. At one point when I saw a lot of Dave's collection early on, then I revisited him 5-6 years later. And you said to me, I'm only doing covers and splash pages now. You said that to me. And now I'm like, I know what I'm only doing covers and splash pages feels like.
Yeah.
I get it. You keep going. I got to get higher. It's a drug. It's a drug. I think.
Yeah.
I should stop it.
Dave just broke his own rule. He just
break my own rule all the
time.
I mean,
he just bought an amazing Miller Wolverine page.
Just an interior nice Wolverine page that I remembered that was in the Heritage. Interior.
It was like the greatest page in the
yeah.
Okay.
It was he cuts, I cut deeper, that one. I was just like, this is like, but that's exactly it. It was just like, had to have it. It was just like this page. If I had to pick, again, if I had to pick one page, this is probably the one page.
Yes.
And there it is.
So there you go.
Yeah.
I'm with you. So there you go. I am still actively seeking out Byrne pages, and people already know Liefeld will overpay. So I'm not hurting myself on this on this podcast.
For those interested, Rob Liefeld will overpay. Yes, it's on his business card. Yeah, it's on his card. So let us steer this mighty ship to props, because it's been sticking out for those of you watching. It's right over his shoulder, and I knew you had this.
I've been ogling it. Yeah. I didn't know. Yeah.
Is Conan, is that your first prop ever, or tell us how do you get to props? Because
it is to my memory, it's my first prop, because I had not really been exposed to them. Even, breaking into comics, I wasn't really exposed to them. I didn't know that like you could buy Star Wars props, and I would hear about them, but I wouldn't come into physical contact with them. So when I got into comics, and especially when Image blew up, and I was just telling my son this literally yesterday afternoon in terms of promotions. And I said, look, Chase, the guy who changed promotions as I knew them, and I was in my late teens when he started doing this, was Arnold Schwarzenegger. You guys, he changed the way movies were sold. He was such a larger than life personality. Leno, all of the different shows. And eventually, I think it was around Twins, the movie Twins, Oprah gave him a full hour, and they gave him an elevated stage, and it was like the anointing of God. Arnold Schwarzenegger would I told my son, The Rock is very much now playing from Prime Arnold's playbook. Yeah,
it's the playbook. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. But the same way that
he can't touch it. Sorry.
No, he can't. So I hired his publicist because I was so enamored, and her name was Charlotte, and she represented me in the early 90s. And one day she goes, Rob, I know you're really excited about True Lies. We are opening a Planet Hollywood at South Coast Plaza in Orange County. And that night at the adjoining theater, we are having a Orange County premiere. Arnold will be there. Cameron will be there. And she said, I can get you tickets for everyone in your studio. And so I gave 70 tickets out to my entire studio, the coloring department, the guys in the bullpen, everybody. And we went there. And afterwards, just myself, my wife, my sister, we went to the party at Planet Hollywood where there was going to be an auction. And so again, Arnold stands up, introduces True Lies. At that moment became my favorite Arnold Schwarzenegger, anything ever. But then at the auction,
give me the goddamn page.
Yes. At the auction, he says, I have a Conan the Barbarian sword. And come on, man, I saw that in the theaters like 10 times. Like, it's still a perfect movie. It's so great. And so, he stands there and he says, and I'll sign it right in front of you.
So this is like a charity auction kind of promo event.
Yes, a charity auction.
Okay.
At the Planet Hollywood, in Orange County. It's not there anymore, but the theater is still there. It's a kick-ass Regal theater. But so we went across the street. We did the Planet Hollywood. He brings this up for auction, and there was just no way I was losing. I was like, I'm taking this home. He's going to sign it. He's going to hand it to me. And it was like euphoria. And so that I then said, I need to get this framed. And someone said, I'll do this ornate frame for you. And this is the same frame it's been in since 1994. So
I love it.
But yeah, I mean, I did play with it for a couple days, swing it around and act like I was Conan, and I'm, I'm 20, 25, 26, whatever. So, but I'm still a kid in the sandbox, right? Because like we all are. But that was like, to me, I can't, and I understand there's multiple swords. And this is from Conan the Barbarian, but just to get one from Arnold himself.
From Arnold, from Arnold.
Yeah,
come on,
signs it, and so and I proudly had it displayed. And a friend of mine, it was about 6 months before the Jason Momoa Conan movie. He goes, "Hey man, I want to buy that. I want to buy that sword from you." And I go, "It's really not for sale." And then he goes, "No, come on, you'll entertain an offer." And I said, "Well, if you want to make me an offer," and it was the worst offer. And I said, "That's an insult." And he goes, "Come on, man. Momoa's Conan is coming out, and that's just going to drop in price." And I said, "Get the hell out of my house. You're a complete idiot. That's not happening."
You're dead to me, yeah.
Oh, no, Joy will tell you. My wife will tell you. My relationship with that guy ended that day. It was just the way he was rolling. It's never been the same. And he is quite a prop collector, but it was like, no. And he kept giving me all these reasons why I should I'm like, no, this is a sentimental. It's more than the Conan sword, right? And so I just go, again, not only can you angry sell things, when people insult your props or your stuff, you're like, get the hell out of my life. We're done.
Yeah. and have such terrible taste too. God, I mean, Jason Momoa, like all respect to Jason Momoa, but eclipsing Arnold Schwarzenegger as Conan, it was like that will never happen.
And you know what,
that
guys,
was a celestial event.
I'm not. I have no inside track. My belief though is that he will be King Conan before I die, or before
I dream of it, but I just don't see it happening.
We all wish. Yeah, I developed a Conan series with and it was with Endeavor Content, but it ended up landing at Amazon, and they developed it. They were going through one of their upheavals and whatever, so the new sheriff came into town and just killed the project. But while it was going on, so the concept of it was to go back to the Howard serials, and basically the reason I feel like the original Conan was the best version of that movie, but all the other movies struggled because he is not really a feature film character. He goes on an adventure, and then he goes on a new adventure, and it's totally done for TV. I mean, that the TV model, especially now, nowadays when you can afford to do these big feature level things on TV, it totally works for that. So the idea was to go back to the Howard stories, adapt them in sort of narrative order, not publishing order, but narrative order, from Conan walks out of the forest of Samaria, and then seasons on down the road, he becomes king. I love this whole thing and all that. And so we were developing it. At some point, Arnold reached out, because the concept was to tell the story in two timelines, basically have King Conan and have young Conan. So he's sort of reflecting back on his life, because he's in this big crisis going on, and he's remembering these stories. And at some point, Arnold got wind of this and wanted to meet and talk. And I was so torn, because I desperately wanted to meet him, but just in any other scenario, because it had to be a non-Arnold story. Otherwise it wasn't going to work. And I was like, and then it blew up. And then it took the decision off the table.
So you never got the meeting.
Tim Miller will tell you, Tim Miller was not gonna put him in that last Terminator movie, but James Cameron said, you can't do it without Arnold. Arnold will insist on being. So if you're
that's what I knew. I knew I wouldn't be able to resist him either.
Arnold definitely stalks his projects, and more power to him, because he's like, I own it. You have to feature me. You already did. You didn't, Arnold. I figured I'd throw another bad one.
Come on, Ryan. I've just do bad Arnold off here. But yours is better than mine.
I have a buddy of mine worked in the special effects department, and I have a couple T-Rexes from Jurassic Park, because he molded them and then gave them to me. They are sequestered away, and because they were such a bitch to put away and to put so I don't display them here. But the my further road to props, the most recent stuff that I have is from the Deadpool films, and someday I'll get that full costume that Ryan has in his house stuffed. But in the meantime, I've settled with the fact that I have the actual swords and guns from the film. So those are really cool to have, right? I mean, so that's so my entire prop collection is weapons.
I'm a weapon. But walking on those sets, when you see something where you're like, I drew that. Is it just? I mean, is it just both
in two dimensions,
both
and then
very
it's
strange, but also does that just make you want one of those more? In a way, when you does it? I don't know. We are collecting, and yes, we have things from things we worked on, but really we're collecting things other people worked on. It's a very sort of unique scenario. Yeah,
right.
I got to tell you, Dave, like I said, look, Dave, I'm a day, not a day one, but a weekend number one. So I guess I am a day one Star Wars 1977 kid. And so much so that I'm drawing on Saturday afternoons. I'm enjoying it because it doesn't feel like it's pressure during the weekends. And I was flipping through the channels, and Star Wars was on TBS. Now, you all know I can go on. I have.
Yeah, you don't have to watch it on TBS, but yes, yeah.
And yet I'm like, I will watch Star Wars with commercials now because I am mesmerized. But I sit there and I go, I can't afford any of those props. Like all of that stuff is outpriced. I'm never going to have Indiana Jones whip. I mean, some of that stuff, or his fedora. So with you guys, I appreciate that. I spent 30 years doing that with comic book art. And I'm so behind on props now. I feel like when people say I can't get into the comic book art hobby at the level I want to, these are other people who say this on message boards. I get it, because it is so crazy now. It's so, almost cost prohibitive. So I can't so I'm happy to have the Deadpool stuff. Again, because the great thing about Deadpool was I was at my kid's soccer game when I got a call that I did not identify, and I picked it up, and it was Tim Miller. And this is freaking 2011. Yeah. And he's like, Rob, I'm going to be directing the Deadpool movie. I want to connect. I want to meet. I want to establish a rapport with you, because I really want to do this. And I'm like, I'm so honored, because that script had already been kicking around for 2 years. Rhett and Paul had written this kick-ass script, but it was just not, it was a non-starter. And then Tim came on. And so Tim welcomed me into the process. And so I got to see the janky Deadpool attempts at costumes as they got it right. Cause there was a couple of them oh, if that's the costume,
we're dead in the water. Don't even bother making it. Yeah.
It looks like rumpled paper. Yes. I think Ryan's shown some of the first tries, which literally look like Kmart costumes, right? And you're like
Watchmen, the bad old Watchmen costumes. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Exactly. And so obviously the costume, when they got that costume right, I'm like, oh my gosh. But then, again, the just being on the sets and being nice to people, suddenly one day you're leaving the set and the prop master goes, hey, I want you to have these. And I'm like, I can't take swords on a plane. I'm like, so can we ship this? This is not leaving Canada. I'll be arrested. So,
is that how it happened? Really... They offered to you. You didn't have to go and sheepishly ask. Can I please take some things home?
So
look at that, Dave.
So here's the deal. One of these says B. So there's B, and there's Arthur. So I'm showing you the actual swords. B and Arthur. Okay. And so, yeah, no, these are actually the Deadpool swords from the film. Wow. And, the hilts are great. So, I
love that the hilts have hand stains. These are used. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Aren't they great? Aren't they great? But so, and so having the two katanas, because, in my, look, here's the deal. When people say, why did you give all your characters what you gave them? And I've told people this before, Dave, and for you, Ryan, you came in when we had between Jim, Wilson, myself, we had already juiced the X-Men with a lot of weapons. But look, I was in 74 and 75. X-Men was in reprints, and I would grab occasional issues, and they were in their blue, yellow. I do this at every panel I go to, because I feel like this is why they struggled. Even Roy Thomas, who was writing X-Men with Neil Adams, said, I thought Neil would juice the sales, but we couldn't get people to buy this book, even though it was drawn better than anything on the stands. My favorite book prior to the new X-Men was Avengers. And I tell people, when the Avengers walk through the door, you got Doo-Doo as a hammer, Doo-Doo as a shield, Hawkeye's got his bow. Even Black Widow had her line. It was a physical line that she'd shoot at you and pull on you. You had Swordsman was in the comic at the time. Yes, kids, there was a character named the Swordsman. So you had swords, bows, hammers, shields. They were weaponized. The original X-Men, I call them temple touchers and arm casters. It's like the entire team was, get back. No, Cyclops will hit his visor. Jean will put her hand out. Professor X will put his hand out, and then watch out for Angel. He's going to flap his wings. Oh shit. Oh shit. He's taking flight. I got way better than that in the Avengers, the Iron Man, right? So yeah, again, Iron Man has a full suit of armor, and then Beast is like, I'm going to jump at you with my big feet. They were like a team that just did not click in terms of engagement, and their powers were physically boring. Wolverine comes on the scene, claws on each hand, clawing at everybody, looking badass, cutting people. Again, that Frank Miller miniseries. He's battling all these ninjas, the swords against his claws. So I get into the mutants, and I'm like, all these dudes need weapons, okay? Domino has throwing knives. Deadpool has guns and katanas. Cable has giant vacuum cleaner future guns, because I don't want to be the Punisher. I don't want to draw real artillery. Everybody's got weapons. So I have always said that is why X-Force and New Mutants clicked. And so much so, I know he's gone now, but he was the head of Marvel Animation and Toy Biz, the toy company. His name was Avi Arad, and he was part of the original. I go see him when they hire me to do Captain America. And it's like so weird because this is like 5 years after, and Avi sits in his chair and he goes, excuse me, he goes, Rob, I like you. You make hardware with software, and we sell so many X-Force New Mutants toys. And I'm like, I know what that means. I know what hardware versus hardware. It means weapons on characters. I get it. He goes, because they called me and said, hey, Rob, the second wave of X-Men toys is going to be a dedicated X-Force figure line. And I have told people that I know where I was that night, that 8 o'clock at night, because the guys at Marvel would work late, and they would call and say, hey, Rob, the Toy Biz people are here, and you're getting in a line of toys, and X-Force hadn't shipped yet. And I remember putting the phone down going, I'm a toy designer. Like my ships come in. Yeah. I'm greater than a comic book artist. But so the katanas are like symbolic of hardware with software. And like I weaponized the X-Men, and suddenly everybody had to have a weapon because, come on, weapons are cool. And the G.I. Joe aesthetic of it as well, the snake eyes of it all. So, and then I know, because it's a prop show, I do want to, before, and I always say this, I've done this once on Instagram, and I want to warn anybody watching, because I know I don't want to trigger anybody, but these are pistols, they're guns. I'm going to show them. I don't want people to freak out and go, oh, you're so.
Happens all the time on this show, Rob.
Okay,
it's all right.
I'm doing
They're
this.
Used to it.
So these are Deadpool's guns. Wow. These are the actual, also the pistols. But the cool thing that the prop master did, they there's like, it says NM 98 and.
He put that on it. Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's really cool. This says these, he special made these for me. It says, you can't see it, but it says RL 98. So I'm like, come on, this is cool. Like, it's got issue 98 on these prop guns.
That's great,
but these are the ones that he smells, after he shoots everybody. And so yeah, these are super cool. So
that's fantastic.
I figure if it's a prop show, I should show, again, not real guns. I know probably a Han Solo gun has made your show, but no one is scared that a Han Solo gun is going to get shot.
Well, so, he does shoot first, so But where do you normally, like, when you're not showing these sometimes in front of like a camera? Are these like on display in your home, in a frame, on a stand, or just in a?
So sadly, I have a giant life-size 6'3" Deadpool. It's not the one that you've seen in stores. I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to give him a shout out. A week after Deadpool opened in 2016, I'm really good friends. I'd say he's one of my closest friends, Robert Kirkman of Walking Dead fame. Said, hey, I want to come see you.
By the way, I know you know this. Huge collector of comic art and a huge fan of your stuff from that period, as I'm well aware. Yes.
Robert. So kind of what you are to the Bronze Age, he is to the 90s and beyond. It is staggering, but I don't think I'm supposed to say that. I'm going to get in trouble. We're both going to get in trouble. Yeah. But anyway, who cares? The thing is,
it's a lovely collection.
He said, yes. I'm going to bring you. I'm going to bring you. He goes, I want to bring you something, and he pulls up in my driveway, and I'm looking out the window, and he and his son are taking these giant like pieces out, and he bought it from China. It is a custom. It looks like Ryan in the suit. It's a 6'2" Deadpool statue that is in one of our major rooms that my wife is nice enough to let me display it in. And the swords
That's the
go
franchise.
with that. Yes, the swords go. And so Robert said, I just thought you should have this. And I was so touched. Like, it was so like, I was like, wow. So and it's killer. It came into the waist, clicks right into the stomach, clicks into the waist, and then it's just two pieces, but it's sometimes I take pictures of it and put it on social media. It's cool. It startles everyone who is in the house whenever because it looks like there's a guy standing right there.
So you put the swords and the guns in it, basically.
The swords go with that, and the guns go in nice. A case.
Okay.
But I figured I'd bring everything because, again, this Conan sword, like I said, it's just a great story. I bought it from Conan.
That's incredible.
It's so fun.
I love that story.
But like I said, to be honest, and this is, I think, relatable to the people who watch your show, I'm priced out of the prop market.
But you
buddy buys Pirates.
But you have the access. So I'm going to go now ask the question that's on everyone's mind. So you never got anything Cable related from when what's his name played Cable?
Well,
you know what? Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna ask you created all these incredible characters.
Yes.
I mean, you know, beyond the original X-Men, after the original X-Men, it was that wave that those are all the most memorable characters at the time. When all of that stuff was blowing up, who was your favorite? Was it Cable, or was it Deadpool, or was it somebody else?
No, you know what? The whole thing is, so Cable was significant in that he turned everything around. And I don't get to do Cable. I don't get to do Deadpool unless Cable worked, because they literally, I mean, the trajectory, young Rob Liefeld just had good instincts and also desperation to be relevant helps. Desperation and instincts. And again, like that entire time, MTV is on all day long. And when you think of all the great, like Dave Fincher and some of the cool music videos that were being made at the time, MTV was like my biggest influence. Like some of the jackets, some of the gear, because they'd make crazy, great videos. And so I would just absorb all that and put that into a book about young people. But I felt like the New Mutants needed a leader like Magneto and Xavier. So Cable blows up, gives me the opportunity to do Shatterstar, to do, Deadpool, to do Domino. And it's hard. I love them all. I mean, I have hundreds of action figures and statues of all of them. People are always great. The manufacturers send me that stuff. I now have a storage unit full of stuff I can't display because I have absolutely run out of room. And I may get I may get a gallery soon. Like that's my whole, but then I'll be up at night going, who's going to break into my gallery?
That's the problem. As soon as you have a gallery, it's like, oh my God, they're going to rob my gallery. Yeah.
It's a target, right? So anyway, it's the stuff that we all do, all the fantasies we have in our heads. But look, I love them all. It's like my kids. I can't pick a favorite one, but I know like Cable was the guy that kicked down the door. The funny thing about the Cable rifle, there was 2 of them on the set of Deadpool 2. And Josh will totally tell you that that one of them jacked his knee up. When they brought me out the rifle to hold when I was on the set of Deadpool 2 a little longer than I was on the original Deadpool, because there was Cable and Domino, and Fox was great to me. They treated me like as best as you could possibly imagine. I was so grateful. And they bring out the rifle, and Josh said, "It's heavier than you think, man." And like I got it, and I almost dropped it and he's like, "Try running uphill with that bitch." And I'm like, oh shit. And he's like, "Rob, I jacked my knee up like last week because they kept, I'm chasing that truck running with this rifle." And so that stuff is, I think there was only 2 of them and they weren't available because I did look into it, but they're also right. I mean, like I would have to have that mounted to a concrete wall because it would it is so heavy. It is like, I'm not sure they thought through the application. But the rifles, I don't have anything from the film Cable related.
Get something Cable related, like even if it's not the gun, I feel like you got to have something, a storyboard, just something. His
vest, his future vest. Yeah.
Well, you know what I got. The most important thing is honest to God, I got a great friendship with Josh Brolin, who is as cool.
You can't sell that. Your kids can't sell that when you're dead. Yeah.
I love it. He signed. I've got signed Josh Brolin shit. Okay,
fine.
Because I did say
that's good.
I think he was like, "Whoa, this guy's crazy." Because on set, I said, "Hey, Josh, I have my ticket from Sicario. I brought it with me. Would you sign it? Because it's like one of my favorite things you've ever done." And he's like, "Okay." I think he was like, "You're a grown man." I'm like, "I am a grown man."
Sort of. I'm sort of a grown man. Come on. I'm sort of. Yeah.
Yeah. So no, literally, that's the best thing I got out of that. I was such a Josh Brolin freak, like super fan. Yeah. And the fact that he got to play Cable, I was so honored. And literally, like I said, he is the coolest guy. And I have stayed in constant contact with him since Deadpool 2. So that is my, that's my bonus from
you get
from
to be
Deadpool
friends
2.
with Cable. I get that. Now if I were you, all I would be thinking about at this moment is how to get Wolverine claws from the next movie. Are you thinking about that? You've got to get them. They are. I have a set from X-Men 2. The claws and the way they go in, and they make a lot of them. So let's start with that. Number one, they make a lot of them. So there'll be a lot of them on set.
They break all the time.
There's hero metal,
stunt ones, and hero ones.
You must. Your mission. You must
that are
not
stubby.
leave that set without a set of claws. Yeah.
I will.
That's got to be your goal.
Look, I'm going to try because I haven't seen yours, but Brett Ratner has a killer collection of props. He has a killer collection of props from all his movies. And when he did X-Men Last Stand, he has 2 pairs of the Wolverine. And Dave, I'm going to tell you truthfully, the Criminal Mind. I've told this to other people, so I'm going to tell it to you. And I did feel it with Brett. There's a point where something you envy so much, you go, can I take that frying pan? Can I take that baseball bat?
When will they find Brett Ratner's body if I kill him right now and take his stuff?
Well, I'd be like, I can grab all of the shit in Mandel's place, and I can, before he comes to, I'll be in Mexico. I had serious envy in 2000. I was like, oh shit. And you're like, Rob, you're not a criminal. You've never done anything wrong. But you're like, I could conceivably commit a crime to get this stuff and go live secretly with it.
That's why Dave collects comic art, because you can't bludgeon him with it. It's much safer than collecting.
Right. If I had a cable gun, you could whack me with it and I'd knock me out.
That's it.
That's right.
Look, you guys have incredible stuff. Literally, the envy component is powerful in the human form, right?
You're going to end up, if you do your job right, you're going to have your own X-Men claws from the next movie. I think that's just got to be, that's got to be your goal. I mean, really, I feel like it's doable. So that's when next we have you on, you're going to have those claws. All right. Okay. That's your mission.
I will put my hands up. I will have claws.
That's got to be your mission. You really just casually mention it to every person on that set, every producer that talks to you. You just like, you know what I've always wanted? Just very like drop it into conversation. I think it'd be good.
Hugh is Hugh is a very sweet man, and having spent time with him twice, I may just sweet talk him. He's amazing. Too. But it's my goal. I'm going to try it. You now see, the thing is, now that you've said it, I'm going to feel like less of a human being if I don't obtain them. So
anything to help, anything I can do to help. Yeah, you just, hey Hugh, did I derail this entire show? Hugh, I really love the Music Man. Hey, are there any X-Men claws around? I mean, you were so good in Music Man. I mean, really, you sing, you dance, you're so good. Yeah, X-Men claws, Wolverine.
Look, I'm going to tell you, and I know this is completely off, but no, I did get he invited me to come see his Greatest Showman tour. And so we got to spend time with him before and after. And I'm going to tell you, because I feel like Robert Downey Jr. is legit and he belongs in his own Hall of Fame for the MCU. But you guys all remember, there's a reason we only talk about Batman for about 10 years. X-Men does not work unless Hugh Jackman works as Wolverine. And I told him, I said, Hugh, let me tell you something, man. And Dave, it landed. He really, like I said, none of this happens. None of Marvel's comic films work if X-Men doesn't work. And you were the guy, and it was destiny that that other guy from Mission Impossible 2 couldn't be in the role, Dougray Scott, right? And I'm like, Hugh, and he's like, it touched him. You could tell. Because, I mean, he is the forebearer of like this entire movement. Because, I mean, by the time they made Iron Man, that there had been 5 X-Men movies. Yeah. I mean, he'd at least been.
And I don't mean this in a bad way, but you go back and watch those X-Men movies, they're pretty hit and miss. You know, there's definitely parts where you go, that's kind of creaky and that doesn't exactly work. But no matter what movie and which one or whatever, he is always so damn good. So
he's so good. He's so great. So you bet. I'm going to try and get some claws. And even hey, why not a second pair of katanas?
Well, that's also true.
Who doesn't need?
There you go.
Like, even if you don't get, here's my shopping list for you.
I know you can't give anything away, but it is Cable in the movie. Can you get your Cable gun?
You may not be allowed to say.
I cannot get Ryan. I am going to get in so much trouble if I say anything. So
no one listens to this.
Imagine,
Rob.
see.
Well, if
you're totally
yes, they do. Yes, they do. And I'm being really good. I'm being a really good boy, not asking you about House of Dragon, which I already told you inspired me in a way that nothing has in the last 10 years.
Let's end on this. Here's what I'm going to say is, if he were in the movie, you should encourage them to make a lightweight stunt gun that is not necessary, that is extra, like 2 of those. So if he were,
Dave, I'm on it. I'm on it. There may be a lot more props from other characters that I will want to have. Trust me. And that's
I
all.
like that. I like that.
All
well,
right.
I don't know a better way to end this than on that. A lot of other characters and a lot of other props. That's pretty fucking great. We like to when we usually at the end of the show, we like to play a prop collecting game, and I don't even know if I know what one to say. I was trying to think about.
Oh, we got to do Conan.
Do we have to do
Dave.
Conan? Okay, but I mean, so not the sword.
We have
right?
to go back to Conan.
Not the sword, but Conan.
Correct.
Okay, so Rob, you can have any prop in the world from the original Conan the Barbarian, but obviously not the sword you have. What's your dream piece? Yeah. And regardless of whether or not Joy lets you put it up in the house or not, but you get to have it. Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you. You know, Ryan, you really had me like when you talked about Conan, why the other ones don't work. You're right. The original Conan, people dismiss that it's like a team movie. It's like the cast around him that he's with Sandal Bergman and I forget who the other
Jerry
guy.
Lopez.
But I'm going to tell you, I mean, having been the voice of freaking Darth Vader, the headdress that James Earl Jones wears is he is so important to the success of that Conan film.
Yes.
And so there's a headdress that he wears, and that's what immediately comes because I'd love to have something from the villain and the hero. And he didn't have really a weapon, you know. But he had that ornate silver kind of. So that's my answer, because then I would have the bad guy and the good guy, because I think, again, like you said, Conan works best in an ensemble, and that movie is absolutely an ensemble. I mean, from the time Sandal Bergman is in it, she's in it the whole movie. She's there.
Yeah. And she's incredible in it too. Yeah. But that's a great piece. That's an incredible piece. Ryan, I know you've thought a lot about it. What are you going for these days?
What else? Yeah. Actually, this is funny. This story sort of goes nowhere, but I know a collector that was onto that piece and thought they knew where it was, and it was like there were photos and like whatever, and then it was one of those classic collecting stories where they like got to the end and it was just like sand. It was like the Maltese Falcon, just sand through the fingers, and it was gone. And it was like it wasn't what it was supposed to be, or like they had it and they couldn't find it in the storage, whatever. And it was such a sad ending, because it was like that is such an the giant snake helmet that he wears. Yes. So hopefully that's still out there. But my answer would be I was also kind of thinking helmet. I love his Viking helmet from the Mounds battle, the one with the two horns. Yes. When he runs at the camera. You know, that's the one that I would take.
That's pretty great. That also goes good with a sword, by the way. That kind of just the two together, kind of nice. That's pretty great.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny when you were talking about, and these have shown up, and it's not a major prop, but I always think of them because I was thinking about, you know, the snakes and stuff. You know, when he turns the arrow into the snake and shoots her, you know, when he shoots Sandal Bergman, there's like a couple of those snake prop arrows that have shown up, you know, they like whatever. And that I'm going there. That's where I'm going. So that's what I want. Yeah.
It is John Borman's masterpiece. Not John Borman. No, I got the
Milius. Yeah.
John.
That's Excalibur. But yeah, Milius. It's
John
like,
Milius. It's John Milius's absolute
insane
masterpiece. Yeah. It is a flawless movie. It's like I can just watch it again and again and again. Yes. That snake arrow. That's perfect, Dave. It's such a great scene too.
To me, it's just super memorable. That's a movie, by the way. I gotta find that sometime playing on a big screen somewhere. Hopefully, one of these revival houses or whatever. I want to take my kids, but I want them to see that big screen, like not at home on a TV.
It still works. I'm going to be honest. The first thing I was going to say was the tree that he gets nailed to, and then I'm like, that's ridiculous.
That's not a prop. Of woe. It was a prop. They built that thing. The construction department built that thing. I think they just left it in Spain.
It's not a prop.
I think it's not so great for your backyard. Yeah, not great for your backyard.
Southern
it's good
Spain.
For your gallery. I think you need to buy that old liquor store and turn that into the gallery. That's the Rob Liefeld. Yeah.
I drive to it twice a year for a reason, Dave. I'm walking all the way back into it, and the clerks just looked at me like, look at the funny little, you know, I'll be honest, look at the funny little white boy going all the way to the back to spend an hour with our
comic book. No interest in the liquor.
All the vodka, I mean, so much liquor. It was just a liquor store with a spinner rack. And I mean, if I could go back in time, I tell my kids, this is terrible to say, but if I could go back in time to like 1976, I'm out of here. I'm gone. I'm like, hit it. See you later. I had a good life. I'm going back, and I'm just going to observe the 70s is my jam. I love it so much. So I'm sorry, I digress. Hey, so what are the props that you guys are after right now? Before I go, I have to know, what are you lurking for?
We're about to find out. There's a big catalog coming up for an auction that will probably be our next show, although I don't know the order of things. So we haven't seen the catalog yet, but there's a huge June auction coming up at Prop Store. And right now it's all, rumors and whatnot, but, always very excited to see what shows.
Some things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
but much like comic art, where Dave has gotten to, and I think certainly where you've gotten to, it's hard to get me up out of my seat anymore, because I have lots of stuff. I was very lucky to find a lot of key pieces from my favorite movies. I got into it early enough that this stuff was around, and if you could make moves, you could get it. So I actually have representations from most of my favorite movies. There are some keyholes, like Princess Bride is a big one. I still want a key kind of hero piece from Star Wars. I have a lovely Stormtrooper helmet, but I would love like something from one of the main characters, one of the named characters. That would be a big one. I have an Indy hat and whip that you can probably see over the top of my head from Last Crusade.
That's why I said that's out of my range. I specifically mentioned those.
I deeply love. But I would love to have a jacket, and I would move a lot of things to have a jacket to kind of complete the ensemble, because they always look so great when Dave doesn't mess around. He has the ensemble and hat and whip and jacket. They always look so amazing together.
They display up
kind
nicely.
Of the character
yes, they display up nicely.
Disembodied. But
before we wrap on that tip, Dave, you may know this, and I have because I did a podcast about the Steranko paintings that Spielberg commissioned for Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah.
Do you know anyone who has those? Are they a thing?
They are in the archives now. At one point,
it's a bit of a tragic story.
At one point, one of the producers had one of them. Was that it? He had one of them, or did he have multiples? I'm trying to remember.
I think he had
all of them.
Dave.
And
I think he had all of them.
And I don't know if they would have ever been for sale, but like Lucas asked for them back or sent them back, and then he thought he was getting them back, and I think he never got them back. Lucas has them. They are in the archives now, but I guess there might have been an opportunity.
Okay, so he has them. Okay.
What I've never seen, what I'm curious about, and and I've always wanted to ask Steranko, but it's like every time I've spoken to Steranko, we end up on a 7-hour tangent over here. You know what I mean? I never get to the question I wanted to ask.
Yes, of course.
But just knowing how he worked, whether there were any kind of prelims that he kept, because that's what I would be curious about. If I'd be very curious if there's any kind of like sketching.
That combines the worlds here. We're combining comic book art and prop, kind of, because those paintings are spectacular.
Oh, I was going to say, do you remember from his Steranko's preview magazine, the Empire Strikes Back cover that he did for his own magazine? That's like a Star Wars painting.
I have it.
Yeah. Like I always want to know, where's that thing? Like, does Luke, I have no idea. Does Steranko have it? Does Lucas have it? Like, where's that one? Because
I want his Blade Runner #1.
That's pretty
incredible. The Blade Runner movie
Yep.
adaptation. Yep.
Yeah. In the Starlog magazine, where he's interviewed about doing the paintings with Spielberg, he tells how they had to convince him to do it in the first place, which is crazy. But then that Spielberg took him out to dinner and said, "We want you to do like 6 more." And it's his own words. Steranko says, and I was like, "I'm done. I'm good." You could have done more. Like, you go back in time, and in retrospect, he would have done more, because you're like, "Oh my gosh, how do you turn down
dinner with Steven Spielberg? Like, we'd like you to do more." Nah, I'm good. That's okay. Pass. Yeah. Pass.
Yeah. And he's like, I guess he really felt like they took a lot out of him. So I figured that's a great, we got Fedora whip. Then we're going to combine worlds.
Sadly, Lucas has them, but my God, some of the greatest things ever.
Okay.
The greatest things ever. Now you can cross it off your list. You do not have to ask cute.
I'm leaving the podcast smarter than I entered, and that's all I
take that.
I'm so excited.
Rob, where can folks find you? You're on Instagram. You're a fine presence, and you have your own podcast. Tell the world so people can find you in places.
So I have a podcast called Robservations, where I talk about my love and my passion for all things comic books, and that's on twice a week. It's had it for several years now. Episodes are on Tuesdays and Fridays. Thank you for letting me promote that. And I'm just on social media. Sometimes I'm Robert Liefeld. Sometimes I'm Rob Liefeld. It depends on if I could get to the name first before, the guy who has Rob Liefeld on Twitter is still trying to hold me hostage 15 years later. I'm like, I'm not doing it. I'm Robert Liefeld. So yeah, that's it. The podcast and Instagram and Twitter. So, and then I've got, this summer I have a brand new Deadpool series coming out from Marvel called Deadpool Batter Blood, and it has Cable and Wolverine, and it's a blast, and it has a new addition, a lot of new characters. You'll meet Shatterstorm, who is not Shatterstar. So anyway, thanks. I'm super excited about that. Comes out in June. So thank you. That's great. If you guys can check it out, that'd be great.
Can't wait. And what about us?
Great.
Ryan, anything we were supposed to say? Follow us on social media, subscribe,
find us
everything.
On all social media.
At Props Podcast.
Props Podcast. Stream us on YouTube so you can see Robert Liefeld's incredible Deadpool collection and his Conan sword, which is fucking awesome. and email us at dreamsaremadeofpodcast@gmail.com, and come back next week for catalog.
I think so. Yes, we hope so. If everything goes in order, then maybe. Then yes.
You guys, this was a dream of mine. This was a dream of mine to be on your show. I'm so excited. Thank you for having me.
I guess, too. Whatever guy on Twitter was like, you should have Rob Liefeld on it. And I went, oh, yeah, duh, we should do that. So whoever that guy was, thank that guy. I don't know who that was.
Guy.
Yeah. His name was Robert.
This is
Robert something. I don't know what his name was, but he was like Robert something with an L. Said you should have Rob Liefeld on. So yeah. Good. Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Rob. It was amazing.
Thank you, guys. Thanks again.